Then the long-awaited department tournament finally began. The first few matches were easy. The finance team faced off against rookie departments and breezed through them. The stronger teams like engineering were still dominating their own side of the bracket. Before we knew it, finance had made it to the quarterfinals. But that's when things got complicated. Engineering was still in the tournament. If both teams kept winning, they'd eventually face each other, and if that happened, it'd be game over. Someone from engineering was bound to recognize John. Still, match after match, both departments kept advancing. It was like fate was teasing him. And then, somehow, it happened. The final game was set, finance department versus engineering department. John's worst nightmare had come true. The night before the finals, he was a wreck. "Bro, I can't do this," he said, pacing the room. "If they recognize me, I'm done." I tried to calm him down. "You've come this far. You can't back out now." He exhaled heavily. "Yeah, but if I get caught, then you deal with it. But at least you played." He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The stadium was packed on the day of the finals. Lights everywhere, banners waving, cameras set up for live replays. The whole school showed up to watch. John didn't start the game. The finance coach decided to keep him on the bench for a while, maybe to avoid suspicion. But things didn't go well. The team was down by several points, and the engineering players were starting to taunt them. "Put me in," John told the coach during the timeout. "We can't lose like this." The coach hesitated, then nodded. "All right. Go make something happen." As soon as John stepped on the court, everything changed. First possession, three-pointer. Crowd erupted. "Let's go," someone yelled from the stands. John's momentum fired up the whole team. They started scoring back-to-back. The engineering players grew frustrated, even trying to draw fake fouls, but the referees ignored them. Then, with just a few minutes left on the clock, the finance team was leading. The crowd was electric. Victory was within reach. Until the whistle blew. The finance coach called John to the sideline. His face was pale. "What's wrong?" John asked, panting. The coach hesitated, then said quietly, "One of the engineering players recognized you. The basketball executives are looking for you right now." John froze. "I'm sorry, son," the coach said. "You need to step off the court." The game was stopped. Moments later, an announcement echoed through the stadium. The finance department had been disqualified for fielding an ineligible player, which meant engineering won the tournament by disqualification. The finance players were stunned, but none of them were angry. They had gone further than they ever had before, and that was thanks to John. After the match, I found him sitting alone by the court, staring at the floor. "Guess that's it," he muttered. A few days later, John was summoned before the school sports disciplinary panel. "Mr. Jonathan," said Mr. Smith, the head official, "you knowingly played for another department. That is a direct violation of school athletic regulations. Therefore, you are hereby banned from participating in all official school sports for the remainder of your stay." John didn't argue, he just nodded. When we walked back to the dorm afterward, neither of us said a word. The silence said everything. The finance boys tried to apologize, but it wasn't really their fault.
It's fine.
It had been John's choice, and he knew it. That year, the engineering department took home the cup. But for John, the loss wasn't just about the game. It felt like the end of a dream he'd been fighting to reclaim. We felt terrible for him, so we started looking for a way to get his sports rights back. We didn't know where to begin, but one thing was clear: the solution had to be Mr. Smith. You see, Mr. Smith was a strange man, simple on campus but almost invisible outside of it. Still, he had a huge house and a nice car. It didn't make sense for someone on a school salary. So the finance boys and I decided to dig a bit. One day, we followed him to find out where he lived. Nobody actually knew his real address. After waiting outside his apartment for a few minutes, he came out, got into his car, and drove off. We followed carefully from a distance. He eventually pulled over in a quiet, unfamiliar area and met goons. They were arguing about something, but we couldn't hear a word. We hid behind some boxes and kept watching. The place looked sketchy, but we still followed them into a building, and that was when we saw it, an underground indoor basketball court. People brought their teams here to compete while others placed bets. It happened every day. The crowd was rough, fights broke out, people got drunk, and illegal deals happened in the corners.
You're on.
It was definitely not a place outsiders were welcome. We blended in, acting like we belonged. Soon, we discovered that Mr. Smith was actually the one running the whole operation. He was the top dog, and he looked furious about something. We didn't know whether to approach him or not, but we decided we had no choice. When we walked up to him, his eyes widened. "You," he said quietly, "how did you even find this place?" He knew he was in trouble. If we reported what we'd seen, he'd lose his job, maybe even get arrested.
Stay close.
He pulled us backstage. What do you want? He asked sharply. We want John to get his sports rights back, we said. He burst out laughing. Impossible, completely impossible. But as we tried to reason with him, a tall man walked up to him. Your time is almost up, the man said coldly. If you don't pay your debt soon, you'll lose everything. The man walked away, laughing. Mr. Smith's face tightened with fear. We realized the truth. Mr. Smith didn't own the building. He paid a huge amount every month to keep it. But lately, he'd been losing too many bets, losing customers, and losing money. Even though he ran the business, he still gambled, and he was going bankrupt. Leave now, he said quietly, and don't mention anything you saw today. But we weren't leaving empty-handed. We won't tell anyone, we said, but you must forgive John publicly. Mr. Smith froze. He knew he was cornered. After a long heavy silence, he sighed. Fine, he said, I'll clear John, but only on one condition. We exchanged glances. What condition? You're going to play a match here, he said, against one of the teams in this court, and you're going to win. Why us? We asked. Because, he said, you're my last chance. I'm betting everything on you. If you win, I'll forgive John. If you lose, I lose the building, I lose my job, and John's case stays as it is. He looked at us with tired, desperate eyes. At this point, he said, I have nothing left to lose. We hesitated, but eventually nodded. All right, we said, we'll play. And just like that, we accepted the biggest risk of our lives, for John,